Hello and welcome, and my sincere apologies for being late. I had to reboot, then I had to reboot the internet. Wow, the devil's just not wanting me to give you all this great news I have today. So let's get started. Thanks for joining me today, and let's start with our update on the news. We've got fabulous news. Wow. Let's go to the news 2014. If you haven't already been there, you want to review this 1,000 times. First of all, must apologize for marketing with Bonnie failed webinar. I see I spelled that wrong last evening. We finally got the system figured out. Then Bonnie has severe computer challenges. She Skyped me through her little system. I don't know what they call them, pads. Anyway, Nooks. I think she calls hers a Nook. There it is. She got on the webinar twice. I see her picture. She actually talked once, and then it all failed. So she couldn't get it started again. She's getting a brand new computer on Monday. So she says she's dead in the water till then. So next week, Bonnie will be riding high with her new computer, and we'll be back to our awesome training sessions Wednesday. Thank you, Bonnie, for all that you're doing for us. We do appreciate you so much. Now, I woke up to this. Wow. New California law allows use of electronic currency for transactions. Let me say that again. New California law allows use of electronic currency for transactions. Guess what? Our USD documentary funds are lawful USA currency as per the Uniform Commercial Code. They are also electronic currency because of the way they are created and lodged electronically with the bank FIDUS, and they are guaranteed payable by FIDUS based on large USD deposits with HSBC Private Banking, London. We can now arrange to close all transactions from California. Wow. Oh. Now, I haven't had a chance to talk to Mr. B about this. I've been far too busy preparing today's webinar, and then I had this little issue with the internet not loading, and so the reboot, and here we are. But wow, that is phenomenal news, and so look for an update on Tuesday as to exactly what this means for you and I. But just know that it's really good news for sure. And so I guess you're not seeing any of this because unfortunately I got so excited about it I forgot to turn on the page for screen share. So let's see if we can go ahead and do that. We're in Google Hangouts, so I got to do that. All right, so let's go back there. All right, so now you should be seeing it. You heard it, now you can see it. And there's just so many new nuances, subtle nuances in this system that you forget, especially when you're not using it all day long. Anyway, there we go. That's great news. Now we're going to come over to our website here, and I really want you to focus on Tuesday's webinar, The Energy Store. Now I've got a great email that Lawrence and Bruce put together, probably collaboration with Lawrence doing the bulk of the writing. But I submitted it to Mr. B for input, and wow, did I get an earful. Like an hour and a half, and I got information that I was never privy to before, and I'm now allowed to share it with you. And so the Energy Store is so very, very important to our vision, and I'm going to tell you why in great detail in writing. So that's excellent news, and so let's get started on that. I do want you to let me know that we're going to see the document. So let me go over to the chat here. You can't hear me? Oh no. You're not hearing me? Now are you hearing me? Wow. Man, I got to start again? Oh, wow. Okay. If you weren't hearing me, new California law allows use of electronic currency for transactions. Our USD documentary funds are lawful USA currency as per Uniform Commercial Code. They are also electronic currency because of the way they are created and lodged electronically with the bank Fides, and they are guaranteed payable by Fides based on large USD deposits with HSBC Private Banking London. So now we can arrange to close all transactions from California. So that's exciting. All right, so you are hearing me, so I didn't have to repeat that. Well, it's good to hear it again anyway. All right, now are you seeing what we're showing, and are you now going to see this Word document? Great email from Lawrence and Bruce. Please type in that you've got the visual, and if not, I'll go ahead and restart the share screen, because you got to see this. This is awesome. All right, let me know, somebody. I know there's a big time delay. All right. You can also Skype me, because I've got Skype on. Somebody can Skype and say, yes, you can see the screen. Let's go ahead and try and redo that. Google Hangouts. All right. You were seeing the FH, right? Okay, got visual. All right, so let's go back and share this screen. And here we go. All right. I got it. And you should see it now, too. All right, Robert Kiyosaki. This was in my Facebook today, and I thought this is so apropos compared to do what we're going to do today. Education and training eliminates the emotion in any fearful situation, and so it's so very, very important that we internalize this material. And that's why I keep going over and over and over it. You just react. It doesn't matter if it's a physical altercation, a potentially devastating car accident, someone suffering a heart attack, or an economic turndown. And when you get out there and face new public, it's very easy to understand the power of what we're doing. All right, so yes, seeing it, great. This email came to me from Lawrence and Bruce, as I said earlier. Hopefully you were hearing that. Here's the bold black is my comments transcribed from my notes from Mr. B and my own personal comments where necessary. And obviously the lighter text is Lawrence and Bruce. So let's get started. We were discussing what else we could do to help our situation with international bills of exchange. It seems logical to us that somewhere between our conversations with the banks to and fro, we seem to have been lost in the translation. And guys, don't take this the wrong way. We're all in the same boat. I understand what's happened here. You've tried to do what Eddie was to do. You went away from the body of your email, which was to get permission in writing for Eddie to contact them for an explanation. But all is not lost. I sent your email to Mr. B, and he was very informative and gave me several answers and solutions to our issues, and he thanks you two guys very much for your past efforts and wants you to know how greatly you are appreciated and hopes that you will continue to follow his lead. All right, so accolades, pats on the back, go get them, Tigers. All right, so Lawrence says, I think that yes, they do know what an IBO is, for certain they do, but understanding what an IBO is does, and what we do at IEC Brightstar, interpretation of what we say it does is obviously two different things. Well, no, it's not. You just don't have all the facts. And if you don't have all the facts, we go back to Kiyosaki's statement at the beginning there, and you easily understand that you weren't prepared because you didn't have the armor. All right? And we could argue the difference between the meanings, but that won't help get our IBOs processed. You would never get your IBOs processed because you are missing very important information that I'm going to provide for you. So, Mr. B concurs, but what you did not understand is that you are not the ones presenting the IBOs. That's why you should not have tried to explain anything about the process. All right? The key, if you're going to talk to financial institutions, brokers, traders, whoever you're out there, wealth management groups, investment services of banks, you got to plead ignorance. Even if you know this stuff after today, plead ignorance. Do not get involved. You're not licensed. You're not a bank, and you're not supposed to be trying to share this information. They don't want you to know what they know. They don't want you to understand this. They want you in the dark. So just play in the dark. Play dumb. Just, I don't know. My backer, my broker, my bank. Well, who is your bank? Well, look, just give me permission. I'll have them contact you. They'll give you all their information, and you'll be able to deal bank to bank. You've got to keep going back to that. Don't give them any information because they're there specifically to keep you in the dark. Okay, so on goes the conversation. For what we have experienced so far is this. They do know what an IBO is. Their process is different from what we expect it to be. No, it's not. But that's okay. You didn't know. They have their own process and protocols to follow. And isn't it this about using their system to get what we want until we don't require them anymore? We're using their system, and it will be outlined in our response below. Okay, so we are far from accomplishing that. No, we're not. So for now, because we need them, we must play their silly game. Well, we don't even need them anymore, as you'll see as we go through this. And no matter how wrong we think it is, things is that we aren't in their club yet, Gary. And to get what we want, we have to get into their club first. Well, we are in their club, but you were not the ones to try and explain it. Bankers to bankers. Do you understand? Don't explain. All right? And I'm not trying to pick on you. Everybody does it, myself included. We always want to think like we are in a position to tell them just enough to make them give us the permission. Well, you got to stand firm, get the permission, or tell them to screw off, quite frankly. So, yes, we are still outsiders. They don't know, like, or trust us, and that's for sure. They've made it quite clear that they do not speak with clients or contact foreign banks. No, they don't. That's why you got to get permission for us to contact them. If you'd only gotten permission for Eddie to contact them. Well, it still may not have worked because I was talking with Eddie earlier this week. He's talked to thousands of bankers. And guess what? They're all full of shit. Excuse my French. But they're just liars, and they don't fulfill, and we're fed up. Okay? So we take what we're given until another opportunity arises, and they gave us two. And this is excellent work, guys. Again, as Bruce said, you got to get out there and get in the trenches and learn from doing. And you guys have done it. Hallelujah. So it's not what we want, but it's all we have. Without it, we have nothing, and that's not acceptable. See that awesome stick-to-itiveness that you guys have got, just like me. Now, it is acceptable, but you don't know that you are not the ones to be able to initiate the use of the IBOs. Okay, so the person who was replying to us was a team leader for the investment team in Sydney. I think he's seen an IBO or two in his day. The challenge here is, what is the process for IBOs? And he gave us two options. Option one, now this is very important because this is the one we'll use, and we do use. If we're presenting IBO documents, we need an invoice or a bill of lading. Now, I didn't know this, guys, because I've never been told this. Why? Because I don't need to know. I'm not the one that's talking to the banks. I understand this to mean, in Bruce's case, that he wishes to purchase properties to the value of $2 million. It has an invoice from the settlement agency to verify the transaction. IEC Fetus then transfers documentary funds for the process of the $2 million IBO. When all documentation and parties are clearly identified, I will expect the bank will pay out the invoice to settle the agency for $2 million. Now, not right, but the invoice and bill of lading are definitely what needs to happen. Okay. Option two, we present a bank check for documentary funds at the branch, complete the documentation on the spot. This could happen with the IBO we'll talk about down the road. This is a logical process for the bank because they do this all day long, and it isn't foreign or alien from ours. They get it. There's no resistance. Correct. Sure. Okay. The resistance comes from we ask for too much. 30 million, 100 million was way too big, and guess what? So is 30. No, it's not. But it's too much for you to talk about. At Westpac Bank, the first senior banker only lend up to $1 million, and that's probably true. The point is that we can buy 30 $1 million CDs. Do you know 30 people in Australia that would like to come forward and buy a $1 million CD on behalf of ICC? I think you do. But we don't need to do that. Okay? So, no response was the correct answer. My backers will explain everything was the correct response. So our response is fine up to the point where we say 30 million because they know us a little bit now as clients, right? They ask us and themselves, how do two guys like you get involved with this? You live in a caravan park, Lawrence and Bruce, you have your own challenges. In other words, how in the Hades can you possibly have possession of $30 million IBO when I've been in banking all my life and this is impossible? So either I'm doing something wrong or you two are on drugs, and the contacts stop and no more nothing. Well, see above. You should never even have mentioned 30 million. Okay? Go back and look at your letter. That's all I could say. Obviously, this is way to left field for them to comprehend, and it's not how they do things. It is how they and we do things. You're just not the banker. At this point, we lose all credibility. They cease to contact us. Too much, too big, and too impossible for them. Not at all. We know different, of course, but to change their way of thinking is to change the course of a river. We create our own resistance by doing this. Well, yeah, when you don't follow the protocols, it does happen, but you've got great information here. Should we be trying to think smarter and use their system against them for our own advantage? No. You are not the ones who should be trying to explain it, but what is done is done. And it was a good learning experience. What alerted us to this key point was how the investment leader said, here are the two options, and I still don't understand what the client wants. Regardless of what our understanding is on how we think an IBO should be processed, it isn't his or the process he's used to following. You see, you just don't know. He gave us the access points already, and what he says he does all day long. We create our own resistance by trying to change the process to suit us. No, we don't. You just didn't know the process. More resistance of 15 million in SFI, 50 million in LLC. This may well be Japanese. Why? Because you two guys who are literally broke walking in say there's an IBO we have to process, and we'll purchase 15 million in SFI and the rest in a line of credit. In their eyes, this is not a transaction for processing by their team or what they will process an IBO for. That's another department. Just too many alarms going off for them is my guess, and that's okay. Well, no. You see, you were talking like you wanted to get your IBOs processed. No. No. Don't know how it works in your neck of the woods, but here we were. We would be close to restraining order, escorted off the premises. Okay, maybe that's a little over-exaggerated, but you get the picture. Gary, I guess what I'm trying to say is that why don't we work in smaller amounts so that we can increase to bigger amounts later? 2 million, 5 million is believable, but 30 million just seems like a bite-sized, manageable pieces as opposed to the whole elephant. At least until we get some rapport happening, because right now we look like a couple of crackpot amateurs trying to do shonky transactions through their bank. I love these words. You Aussies have got neat things. Shonky. I've never heard that before. Shonky. Wow. Just too unbelievable in their eyes because they're doing it. So how the heck did these two turkeys get a hold of that sort of document? Well, that's what the bank-to-bank deal would be. So now here's the $30 million question. How do we get an IBO small enough to accomplish this? You can't. IEC can explain the process, and they will know what to say to the bank. Okay? You went way too far, guys. You're trying real hard. Love you for it. So in Bruce's case, the properties and fees and late charges come to about 1.3 million and 700,000 for 12 months operating and working capital. I see this can be achieved because the settlement agency producing an invoice for 2 million is they can verify the transaction bank transfers to their holding account as is expected. The seller is happy to get paid, and Bruce is the new owner of the gas station. Settlement agency transfers balance to the Bruce's foundation account. Job done. And if that can be done, it's safer to say bigger transactions can happen with a proper way to verify the transactions between the seller and the buyer. Well, you guys are really thinking. Love you for it. You've learned a great amount, but no matter what, you can't do this as you're not licensed to do this, so they won't listen to you. You have surmised everything they think of you. Broke, on pot, who knows what. Well, they have to a point, but you still can't do it because you have the wrong IBO. The IBO you have is a DF1, Documentary Fund 1 series. You would need a DF3, and you would not know that because you were not explained the process. Okay? I never told you that because I didn't know. But the good news is I can now set you straight on what is to transpire should they ever grant permission to talk with Eddie and want to talk with him. If they don't want to talk to him, screw off. We don't need him. I did not know this either, so look, guys, don't feel bad. It was all part of our learning experience, but it was not our job to go into details. Remember your letter? I just copied and pasted here. Our backer prefers to use documentary funds to purchase CDs or other senior financial instruments issued. So if you put in IBOs there, it doesn't really matter. Our backer. You're not the backer. Okay? Your bank and or your bank investment services monetize U.S. Treasuries. This would be discussed directly with you by our backer as to what option suits your investment services best. The credit facility would only be used in non-depletion business transactions, and funds from the facility never leave your bank. How could you guys ever do that? You can't. You're not a bank. They screwed you. They lured you in, and they sunk you. That's what Eddie told me that the banks did to him back in June of last year. So, your second closing here, I would like to ask your permission to authorize me to send your contact details to our backer so that they may contact you at your earliest possible convenience to provide all the information necessary for you to grant our credit facility. That's all you ever were asked to do. But look at all the extra stuff you found out in the meantime, which I didn't know, and you didn't know, and the people listening today didn't know either. What a valuable educational journey you guys have been on. Hallelujah. Okay, so here's what these guys have found out. Lawrence, Bruce, IBO documents, invoice or bill of lading, agency to verify the transaction, IEC transfers, documentary funds, bank deposit funds, and agency holding account. Absolutely, but you can't do it. But IEC can. This is what Bruce and I came to a logical agreement. Right on, guys. Right on. So, we want to know, can this be supported in order to get things going? All it takes is one over the line. We'll create our own tsunami version because it's a logical conclusion that if one gets over by following this process, then go to bigger transactions that will follow because now we have credibility. Well, you still couldn't do it because you can't get the credibility, all right? But IEC can. So let's go into Mr. B's explanation. This is awesome. I'm telling you. Taking the notes and getting it transcribed and making it readable after my notes. Wow. If you have a WAP and an IBO, these are documentary 1 series funds. All right? Everybody on this call that's ever been given a WAP and an IBO, they're DF1s. The IBO has been presented to you by DBII, Diversified Business Interests, Inc., to pay you for your WAPN. You are the one selling DBII the WAPN. In order for you to collect on your WAPN, you will need to provide an invoice and bill of lading in order to collect, but we've not progressed to that point yet. So that segment was left out. Why? Because you didn't need to know. Because if you did, you'd be out trying to sell everybody at the banks that you know what you're talking about. And you already did that. You know where you got. Nowhere. So acquiring a piece of property from someone else, in your example, is a completely separate issue and has nothing to do with the WAPN and IBO. So Mr. B says, let's just focus on the WAPN and IBO. So when IEC presents to a bank, they use DF3 funds. What makes the DF3 fund different from the DF1 that you have is the IBO. The WAPN will be the same, and the WAPN is issued by USPIS, and the IBO is issued by DBII with 2 different formats. All right? Because in the DF1, in order to collect on that IBO, you have to go through the trading process. You've got to bring it to IEC. They've got to do the discounting and the profits from the trade. Now, in DF3, you just got to go collect. It's like that check we were talking about in the emails earlier example. All right? Now, again, the banker is right. You have a bill of lading and an invoice, but who's going to be responsible for submitting that bill of lading and that invoice? It's the entity or party that is selling the WAPN that goes with it, which in this particular case for DF1 funds, it's you and I. You're not in position to be able to do that. That's why you bring it to IEC. or some other licensed entity that can do this. Now, in this particular case, when we issue DF3 funds, that party happens to be the bank, because the WAPN is issued in the name of the bank. Now you see why, if we gave them DF3 funds, and Eddie had told them that that's what they would be receiving, then they would know that these funds were issued to the bank's name, not to you. See the difference? So what was missing in all this is the understanding that the owner of the WAPN must provide the bill of lading and invoice. Could they easily provide a bill of lading and invoice to DBII to collect? Absolutely. That's what the bank would do, and that's what they do all day long. DBII is simply presenting the payment instrument, the International Bill of Exchange, DF3. Now, this payment instrument is verifiable, confirmable, and is backed by billions. All is in place, but it is not us that have to issue the bill of lading and invoice. It is the bank. Okay? So that's something you didn't know. You were never told. You could never know. You didn't know what was issued. You didn't know where it was issued from. That it had to be DF3 funds from DBII. So it's whoever the seller of the WAPN is. A WAPN is a promissory note that is issued to some entity or person as a promise to pay when the Uniform Advertising Week services are promoted and paid for equal to 4 times the value of the WAPN. So if it's a $100,000 WAPN, $400,000 worth of WAS had to be sold. Go look at your WAPN and see for sure. All right? We just haven't paid attention to this. I am guilty. All right? I'm not guilty anymore. I know this stuff now. But it also says you can sell this WAPN to someone else if you want to. And that somebody else will take on the responsibility so that they can collect. So you can sell it to whoever you want, but DBII will buy it from you with an international bill of exchange. Now, in this particular case, it'll be DF1 funds. The WAPN and IBO, as I said earlier, are 2 separate instruments issued by different parties. The WAPN is issued by USPIS, and they say, I've got this massive inventory of WAS over here, and if you sell and promote people buying WAS, 4 times that amount on the WAPN, I'll pay you the full value of the WAPN. That's what it says. Go read it. Now, you can collect on it by doing that if you want, or you can sell it to somebody else, and they will go do it. Wow, what an information breakthrough, guys. I know I've heard this years back, but you know, it's like, how do you remember all this stuff? So I'm so excited when he told me how simple this protocol is. We just don't follow it. So, Mr. B says, congratulations for finding out the protocols the bank will use to process WAPN and IBOs for yourself. He already knew, but he's happy that you had the rubber hit the road and you went out there and talked to these people, and that's great work. Awesome. Had to learn the hard way, but you learned. And you wouldn't have learned any other way. You understand that? I didn't know this because I wasn't out there getting that far with the banks. The banks all thought it was a criminal, remember? And I talked to, I think, 7 or 8 banks here in the DR. And they were all, 2 of them were ready to go until they saw this stuff on the internet. So, you know, it's stupidity. I mean, you can't fix stupid. So remember, everyone, the DF3s are issued to the bank, and they will follow these same procedures to collect immediately on the DF3s. DF1s? No, you got to do buy-sell transactions. You got to get the profits. Now, here's a note from Mr. B. All protocols are in place to do this, and will continue to be. But because of the games being played by these banks, wealth management groups, investment services, and brokers, they're now going to have to come to us and say they have a proposal and want to work with us to fulfill them to our mutual benefit. We do not need to be out there promoting that anymore. So clean up what you have in process and then move to the energy store. We've now moved up to the next plateau. You have a WAPN and IBO that you want to have monetized. The holder of the WAPN has to follow the protocol on the WAPN, and the IBO has to be issued specifically for the purpose of buying the WAPN. That's done. Those of you that have MOUs for 100 million, like myself, I've got 2 of them with Eddie. We're sitting on cloud 9. It's the holder of the WAPN that has to do all those things the bank has been talking about. Because the holder of the WAPN is selling the product being the WAPN. So if we go to a bank and present an IBO to buy a WAPN from them, that's fine. But the only way we're going to do it is if the bank agrees to, instead of trying to collect on the IBO, which they could, they will create a CD from the margin line of credit, place the CD into the investment services division, then we will trade off that CD. We already have our professional traders in place, and we will go get it done. And we have several contracts already in place with major banks around the world that have not fulfilled. They said, well, we're ready to go. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And guess what? They didn't. They signed contracts but have not done what they've contracted to do. That procedure is in place. It's legal. It's lawful. But we're not going to force it down anyone's throat. Do we have to go and sue them to make it work? That's a waste of time. So let's learn to do something that's easier and more likely to happen for all of us that work our energy store protocols. Now remember, we just spent 4 webinars on Antal Fekete stuff. Commerce through capitalism does not require banks. Remember the definitions that I go through? Commerce doesn't require banks. Banks are the main facilitators of finance through credit. So we can all promote the use of the energy store. Everything else is all there. But if you've not been able to do it so far, probably is you're not going to get it done. And time's a wasting. I don't know about you, but I can't wait any longer. I can't pay my rent. I can't pay my internet. I got to do something different. And these banks have screwed us over. These brokers have screwed us over. They've lied to us. Intentionally, maybe not intentionally. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not wasting any more time trying to beg them to get rich with us. So if you want IEC to discount your WAPN and IBO, you must bring to the table somebody or some entity to participate at whatever level they wish to participate in the energy store protocols. Listen carefully. The energy store is selling a particular product, and that's not a WAPN. This is not an MBTM. And you don't have the mindset that as a value-added bonus, no charge, you get a WAPN. No. The product happens to be a project that includes components from the energy solution. So you've got to go back to Tuesday's webinar. You've got to go and review the energy store protocols, and you've got to go and look at all of the things that are available in the energy solution. So you want to go and buy a new house. All right, so let's use that as an example. Yes, we can use the energy store to buy the new house. Well, you follow the energy store protocols. You're going to need $2,000 to participate, and you're going to need a minimum of 10 grand. Well, not you. Many of you are already well-heeled and set to go. You just need to bring somebody to the table that's going to buy a new house that has 12 grand to put down on a new house. Show them a better way. Don, Steve, Dan, all you real estate guys, this is a piece of cake. This is traditional stuff for you. Okay? Now, all they have to do is consent to put some kind of energy generation system in their house. What could that be? Well, go look at the energy solution. It could be an LMF computer. It could be solar panels. It could be a lot of neat things. And here's the uniqueness. Go back to the webinars that we did on the energy solution. We hold all of the valuable patents on hydrogen technology. And anybody and everybody that's doing hydrogen technology is breaking our patent law. Okay? We can go through the ass off them. We own it all. And by the way, it was paid for with BVK and these protocols. So don't say BVK doesn't work. Don't say our protocols don't work. We've amassed millions and billions of dollars worth of assets using these protocols. You and I are small thinkers. Mr. B thinks big. And the people he hangs around with think big. Go find some big thinkers, and they'll understand this stuff. Keep hanging around with Jimmy Lunchbucket and Sally Homemaker, and guess what you're going to get? More of the same. Oh, it won't work. No, it works fine. You don't work. So here's the unique thing about this. We've got this project. What is it? Some kind of energy project. Well, guess what? We've got a car dealership, 18 car dealerships Eddie's working with Daniel, that are coming to the table to use the energy solution. You say, well, wait a second. How can cars be an energy solution? Well, again, go read the energy solution protocols and the energy store. And it says we want to clean up the environment. Well, old cars run dirty. New cars are more efficient and run clean. Voila. There's our energy solution. So these 18 car dealerships, the master owner of them all is going to bring several $100,000 to make this work so he can floor plan his entire inventory. So there's another example of the energy store at work. Did you have to do that? No. You're not a car dealership, but do you know somebody? Who would you buy your last car from? We'll talk about more about that in a minute. So as a result of this purchase of the project's already done. Go read it. All right. Now they may contract with the car dealer to fulfill the project, which in this case they will, because they're not the floor planner. There happens to be free U.S. Treasuries that show up. So if we're presenting to the bank, boys, Lawrence, Bruce, you can go back to these people and say, hey, Mr. Banker, would you like to get free treasuries? Then why don't you do your own energy project and you get free treasuries too? So here's the protocol. Go look at it. So we're not going to try and convince you. You have your chance. Take it or leave it. Oh, well, this ain't going to work. All right, go ahead. I don't care. Like if you can't fix stupid. But we're doing this right now already. All right? This is not theoretical solution, folks. Our first project process is next week. Ben said, I'm going to go out and do it. And he did. It's done. Bought this huge property, got the money, got the trader, got everything in place. It happens next Friday. Done. Now, you don't have to do huge amounts of funds. You can do just 10,000 if you want to. Well, you don't have to do the 10,000. Find somebody who does. And then they can cascade that up quite quickly to get funds you need for any energy-related project. So obviously, if you got a $10 million project you're going to do, you don't need $10 million today to do it. So you can start small, and you get funds as you need them. And you could just cascade this up. Take the 10,000, turn it into, what's that, 25% of, well, go read the protocol. It's all there. So if you have funds of a sizable amount, you can use the C category and leave the funds where they are. So we've got some major players internationally that are going to do just that. And if you can't use the C because you don't have millions, you can use A or B, but A is ready and being used right now. B is to be set up when we have European participants. We do have a work center in Europe. Excuse me, and they would like to probably do this, but they're not going to go and set it all up if they don't have anybody bringing anything to the table. But because Ben is doing this personally, it's already set to go. He's doing it. Gary and Eddie are doing it. We've got 5 projects we're ready to present right now. So we can go to trade now with as little as 10 grand. Remember, to do this energy project, in addition to the minimum of 10,000, there's the admin fee of 2 grand. So whether you have 10,000 or 100 million, it still costs 2K to get started. This is how the managing co-venture partners have decided to move forward. And if you want to do it with us, great. If not, keep waiting. That's how it will be done. That's how we can get our treasuries to do what we need and want to do. And if we do this any other way, 2 things can happen. First of all, we're not licensed to promote treasuries, and so everybody's out there promoting treasuries. So that's a negative and could get us into trouble. And the second thing is that the amount of profits made off treasuries is too slim. But if we do it this way, we can make 100% profit on the treasuries. We're using this system right now. The managing co-venture partners set this up to use it for themselves. But if you would like to come and learn with us, great, we'll teach you too. IEC is now out there promoting the energy store so that IEC can contract to have funds go in and get treasuries at no cost. So when it sells them our treasuries, there's a lot of money to pay for the discounting, isn't there? So you and anyone you sponsor and teach can do this too. The energy store makes it possible for IEC to be able to operate, to do business, to get the treasuries at a very significant discount, and free is a very significant discount. So then IEC can sell those treasuries and get significant profits it needs to discount the IBOs. So the point is, we're no longer asking the banks for anything. They've had their chance. If they wake up, they'll be allowed to participate, but we don't need them. The key is there are many ways for you to help IEC to do this. One way is to help IEC promote the energy store. Another is feed us bank contracts under Getting It Done. So if you choose not to help, you'll be looked after when all the workers have had their IBOs processed. The reason we have moved to utilize the energy store is because even though we could buy U.S. Treasuries direct, the margins are slim, and through our licensed professional trader that we have on board right now, who can use existing U.S. Treasuries to trade electronically in 60 seconds and make us 100% profits. So we're just not going to wait any longer. We're just going to go do it, start small, let it compound, cascade up. It's huge. And we can turn them around and buy more to sell more and cascade up to whether IEC has massive funds completely under our control. Now we have massive funds that we can buy U.S. Treasuries show and tell. But these evil bankers are dogging us. All of the contracts that have been entered into with IEC by banks, wealth management groups, and brokers are still there. And hopefully the contracted entities will wake up and fulfill their contractual obligations. But in the meantime, Managing Co-Venture Partners and Gary and Eddie are not going to wait any longer for them to fulfill. We will do it ourselves with the energy store now. I urge you to come and join us to move this to completion now. Or no, I don't care. I've got to look after me and my family just as you've got to look after you and your family. If you don't believe this, it's not real to you, then I know you're not going to do it. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to ask you. I'm just looking for people raising their hands saying, pick me, Gary, let's do it together. And I've got 7 people that are already committed and doing it with me. You can too. Just let me know. Now, one of the things that's very important, and I had a member contact me this morning, had read the information about what the funds are, documentary funds or electronic trading. Where is it? Let me just go there. Okay, so we'll get rid of that. Look at that. It went into reverse. Interesting. Okay, so talking head here. Anyway, the long and the short of it is he was whining and crying about, you know, he's got to have proof. Okay, so that's fine. You got to have proof. But I said to him, do you have a one-member sponsor place? He said, yep. You got some ICC memberships to get out there? Yep, got lots. I said, so why aren't you doing it? Well, they got to spend money. No. You've got ICC memberships right now sitting with a one-member sponsor place. You're missing the whole point. We've all missed the whole point. All we were asked to do is the same as that farmer went to his feed store and said, I buy a lot of feed and seed and stuff from you. I've just joined the Internet Catalog Club, don't know a lot about it, but what I'd like for you to do is to receive this ICC membership. And if you'll take on this membership, then you and I are private ICC members. And I can get 25% in chips. Chips are like air miles. I don't really know what they do yet, but you know, they're like air miles, and it's better to have them than not. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, so when I make a purchase from you, I take the receipt and I turn it into our work center, and they'll turn it into admin, and they'll give me 25% of whatever the purchase was in my back office. Now, if you do the same, you can have the same. And if you don't care, but just allow me to take your contact information, give you this membership on credit. When you're rich, You can pay me $1,000 for it. And if you never do anything, you don't owe me anything. Fair enough? Fair enough. What business wouldn't take that on? Well, in this particular case, the farmer said, wait a second. The guy said, no, don't need any extra work. Don't even want to think about anything else. So he went down the street to the competition. And he said, I was just at my regular feed and seed store, and they said no to a fabulous opportunity that I'm really excited about, and I'd like to share it with you because I'd like to do business with you. Would you take on an ICC membership absolutely free on credit that I'll provide? And if you ever make any money from this, you can pay me $1,000 a year, 10 years from now. But what it's going to allow you and I to do is get chips. And chips are like air miles, and you can literally save them. And someday you'll be able to use them. Don't know what they're for now, but someday they might be worth something. One chip equaling one USD. And so the other competitor said, yeah, I'll take on the membership. What did it cost that guy? 10 minutes to listen to the story, 10 minutes to fill out a page so that the guy could take it home and enter his information in and give him an email with his ICC membership. And now every time the guy goes to buy feed and seed at that store, he takes his receipt, he sends it to me, I send it into admin. Admin credits his back office with chips. Now I have 30 million chips, folks. 30 million chips. Have I done this? Yeah. 30 million chips worth. One chip equals one USD. 30 million chips. How many chips do you got from what you've done? None? Well, start now. Get out there and talk to businesses. And one of those people is going to say to you, well, why are you doing this? What's it all for? Well, we've got this neat new little website. And so there's this neat little new website, and let me just see if I can find it here. You see, there it is. Okay. The Ultimate College of Commerce. Creating a better world by helping you achieve success. Look, we're going to teach you how to become involved with commerce through capitalism. So let me go ahead and do the screen share. Sorry about that. Keep forgetting. Got to do that. It's not automatic. I think I need to use this one. Start with this one. And there we go. Okay. Now this website is a joint venture between Mr. Burl Wolk and Gary Holmes and Bright Star Work Center, of course. And he asked me to do this a year ago. And he has millions of contacts in his database. And he said, Gary, we've got to promote this. And I said, yeah. And I just, I had more important things to do, and I just didn't do it. But lately, with the successes we're having, we're ready to go. There's no holding back. And so you can use this website. Don't let people sign up on this website because it's going to go to Burl, not to you. But it's going to be duplicated. I'm going to put these tools up elsewhere, but I've got to redo the webinars. And so it talks about the high cost of education. Mr. Gas station owner, Mr. Grocery store owner, you got any college-age kids? Yep. What's it cost for going? Talk about that, and then show them the website and say, look at the high cost of education. In 2011, due to the high cost of attending college, the total amount of student debt was more than $1 trillion. Remember the definition of insanity? This is it. Public 4 years state, 8,000. Public 4 years out of state, 21,000. Private nonprofit, 29,000. For-profit schools, 15,000. These are average tuition fees. 1 year. 1 year. And you're paying this for your kid to go to school to come out unemployed. Why don't you take the $21,000 and come and join our energy protocol and get rich? There's some additional benefits. Let's get started. Well, we have 4 segments. If you do what successful, wealthy people do, you will become successful and wealthy too. So Burl says, Gary, you got to keep these things really short so people can understand it, because people's attention span, it's just like a 30-second blip. Well, come on, you can't give the people an entire alternative economy in 30 seconds or 30 minutes even. So I've pared it down into these 4 segments, and it's a total of 40 minutes. It's not 10, 10, 10, and 10. I wish it was. I think it's about 3 minutes for the first one, 15 for the second, and these 2 are, well, the third one's a little longer, and the last one's about 4 or 5 minutes again. So it tells you what it is. It gives you the document to read along with it. You can watch the talking head do it. You can see it on the webinar. These are all set to go. So you can say, well, look, let's just get you started here, okay? And there's a couple of fun things in there I threw in there because I was experimenting. This is a program I bought a year ago, Man Rules, and you're not going to hear it, but you can at least see what it is. It'll pop up here in a second. At least I think you'll be able to see it. It's Einstein, and Einstein will talk. Okay, it's me talking.
Man Rules.
Okay.
Class. A guy has taken the time to write this all.
All right, so lots of fun, and I've got one at the beginning here as well. Back at home, there's another one, homepage, UCFC website, where you can watch that one as well. And it basically is this that I'm saying. And I call myself Dean Douglas here. All right, it's my middle name. So this is a tool that you can use. Get out there and use it if you want. But I implore you to get out there and talk to people about joining for free so that you get the chips. If they never do anything, who cares? How much do you spend on groceries a week? $100 to $200? How much do you spend on gas a week? $100? So there's $200 to $300 a week you can get in chips. If you're a platinum, if you're a gold, that's $150, and $75 if you're a silver. Don't you want these chips? You don't think they're worth anything? Well, I can't tell you what to say. So Lawrence is really upset that I took his email, and he says, I don't fear that that's fair how you read the letter making an example of us. That was addressed to you, and first to you, it was not to humiliate. That's not the point at all, Lawrence. I'm not humiliating. You guys have done an awesome job. If everybody else had done what Lawrence and Bruce had done, we would have found the brokers, the banks that would actually be doing it with us. You guys have done an awesome job. Mr. B told me to tell you you've done an awesome job. I just wanted to show people the crap that you guys have gone through to get where you are. So you've taken it the wrong way. I'm sorry. But that's a great teaching tool. We need to know what people have gone through so that we don't do it again. So I hope you'll rethink what I've said, why I've said it, why Mr. B said it, and you'll be proud of your accomplishments because you've done an awesome job. And I hope others will take heed, learn, follow, and do what we're shown to do, and we'll get success. So there's a new little website. Focus on getting your memberships out there, and then if they come to you and say, why are you doing this? Well, let me show you this website, and then let me show you this website over here. Come over here to the energy store, and you can give them the link in an email and say, look, just take a look at this. Take a look at this. See if be interested in learning. I don't understand it. Well, look, let's get together, and I'll share it with you, and I'll show it to you. Okay? Look, we got to do this or we don't. If you don't want to do it, then don't. I don't care. I'm doing it. Eddie's doing it. Mr. B's doing it. Richie's doing it. A couple of other work center leaders are doing it. If that's where we are, that's where we are. We're not stopping. And I hope that Lawrence and Bruce won't stop because they feel their noses out of joint. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose is to let you know that we're moving forward. We've got a solution. We don't need banks to do it. Screw them. They've screwed us. Now let's get the job done. Are you with me? Great. If you're not, I don't care. I got to go. All right. All the best. God bless. Talk to you all again soon.